Welcome to Loaded and Rolling. I'm your host, Thomas Wasson, and we have a really awesome and exciting episode for you today. I like to talk to startups, but a lot of times it's a very rare experience to get to start to talk with folks who are building a startup who have also successfully built a previous startup, and not only doing that, sold it for multi-billions of dollars, which is definitely at least unicorn status when we're talking about valuations. And so it's super exciting because, especially in this space, getting to talk with founders like that, it's a special treat. And it's also a treat to get to learn what they're working on. And so we're going to be talking today with folks from Augment. And it's a Harish Abbot. He's a founder of now Augment, but previously Deliver, which, if you didn't know, it was bought out by Shopify back in 2022 for $2.1 billion. And so it's a really amazing story. We're going to dive in. Let's welcome Harish here. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you. And, tell us, how did you get in the VC world? Give us the lore and the backstory.
Hey, thanks for having me here. Listen, I consider myself an engineer and a builder from the very start. I was fortunate to be at Amazon in early days, back when Amazon just sold books. The tagline was like Earth's biggest bookstore. And I have built a lot of software for fulfillment, optimizing the network. And since then, the entrepreneurial bug has been in me, and I sort of started several companies, some successful, some not so, learned along the way. But most of my companies and, my ideas have been applying technology. I'm a software engineer by training, to logistics, which, I stumbled on at Amazon, but just fell in love with it. It's sort of an industry that's always humbled me. Every time I go into I have all the answers for it. And then yet there are like 50 other exceptions that you can't handle. And then it's an industry that is so important. It literally powers America and the world in its own ways. It's one of the largest industries. It's very complex. And so I just love, I would say, applying technology to logistics.
And let's talk about the company Deliver as well. As an example, I'm sensing a trend here, but when we're looking and we're talking with founders, when you're starting these companies and working on it, do you just kind of know you're like, man, I got this product market fit. We're going to hit that unicorn status. Or is it something kind of like after the fact when someone says, hey, here's your valuation on the next round. By the way, we're about to reach the end zone. Tell us a little bit about the story about how you grew that company, and then we can dive into what you're currently working on.
Yeah, thank you. So Deliver, was uh, building like a Prime-like service for the non-Amazon world. Our idea was that there's this very fast-growing and very large segment of, Shopify merchants who were selling on other marketplaces like Walmart and eBay. And, one of the reasons why they were sort of disadvantaged was that they were not able to offer very fast shipping to their end customers. So their customers would try to find that product on Amazon. And Deliver's idea was to give like a Prime-like badge to everybody and offer 1 and 2 day shipping. The company grew very fast because the value prop was there. As merchants sort of saw their sales start to go up, they wanted to have more and more of their products on Deliver or being fulfilled by Deliver. I don't think it's ever a straight line as it is made out to be. People say, oh, an overnight success story just took 15 years in the making. There's always ups and downs. Products are always evolving. Competition is always evolving. Markets are always evolving. Um, and so, but I think what is always true is, some basic things, which is like, if you can do the right thing for your customer, if you can make your customer successful, if you're delivering tremendous value to them, then you've got something on your hand. And I would say a product market fit is basically an indicator of that. Like, hey, does your product actually deliver real value to your end customer? And you get to feel that, I would say early on, right? Like you get to feel like, oh yeah, there is something there. Like the customer is willing to embrace your product, pay for it, maybe pay a premium for it. And hey, by the way, we didn't even need to do a lot of marketing to acquire our first 1,000 customers. All those are good signs that the product that you are envisioning and building has value to the end customer. But once you've got that, you've got to continue building the product. Like it's you're always building, you're always improving, and that's a never ending journey for for any company, and Deliver was no different. Um, I would say like it took us about 6 to 9 months, and we were iterating on, hey, do we have the right product? Is it delivering enough value? And then about uh, close to about a year's mark, I think we found the right mix of like speed and cost and the badging. And once we had that, suddenly we went from like maybe 50 customers using us to like 500 in a matter of a month. And that's when like you've got something that people want.
And I mean, I think people forget how it used to be 3 to 5 days shipping, 5 to 7 days shipping. Like, I'm thinking in the annals of freight technology, one of the biggest things was simply getting it to that almost 2 day shipping now, speeding it up. And so we're thinking about that. And now we're moving into the realm of supply chains are faster, but there's still more to do. AI optimization. Tell us kind of what, we're talking about AI and when we're looking at, especially in the context of Augment, what made you want to lean towards the AI space, having come from this, fulfillment and not like an e-commerce fulfillment, but from helping move it to now you're like optimizing it.
Yeah, great question. So, I think one, as an engineer, and I would say like most engineers right now, they're just playing around with LLMs. There's one of the most transformative technologies we've seen, I would argue, in our lifetimes, counting internet and mobile revolutions in it. And this chance of applying it to logistics was just, it's sort of an amazing piece. Being in logistics, whether it was at Amazon or several of my companies, including Deliver, one thing was very clear to me, that this industry is extremely fragmented, both in terms of number of players. Just in trucking, there's close to 900,000 trucking companies. There's about 200,000 shippers. There's 20,000 brokerages, and all of them use very different systems. So there's this very hot mess of fragmented systems. And for operators, they're spending a tremendous amount of their time in barrages of emails and phone calls and entry in and entry out of systems, and not really like able to step above and focus on, I would say, value added activity. Like, how do I deliver a better experience to my customer? Can I reroute their shipments? Can I pool their shipments? Things that truly like make a big difference. And so we saw this unique opportunity that's saying, oh, we can now apply AI and start to make the lives of operators really meaningful. Like, take the drudgery, take the tedious work away from them, so they can focus on what truly matters: relationships, negotiations, optimization, routing. And AI was just in a very unique spot to be able to do that. So it was both like this advent of technology, but also, I would say, um, my experience in logistics in general, whether it was builder of technology in logistics or operator of warehouses, but also buyer of freight. Like, I was buying at Deliver, tens and tens of millions of dollars of freight every year, and I just saw firsthand on how inefficient that process was, how humanly sort of tedious that process was. And now we had this unique opportunity that with AI we can like solve for that.
And kind of thinking about when you're looking at AI in the models, there's a lot of GPTs out there now, depending upon it. Is there an opportunity? I guess maybe the holy grail is that if I can go through all of this data, specifically emails, and create my own logistics specific data set, is that one of the big goals when you're thinking about it? Or right now are we in the early stages where the low hanging fruit is so, low hanging that we could just optimize it with the existing stuff at the moment, with the existing capabilities?
Yeah, so it's very, very good question. So, on the back end, we do use a set of different LLMs, from Claude to OpenAI's to Llama to even DeepSeek, and we're sort of perfecting the use of each one of them for a different use case. We're not really building an LLM for this industry, but where we're seeing a ton of opportunity is that LLMs are sort of non-deterministic. Like, if you ask the same question to the LLM 5 times, you're going to get 5 different answers. And logistics doesn't work that way, as you know. Like if a truck has to show up on a certain time, it has to show up. If it doesn't show up on that time, appointments get missed, bad things happen across the board. Um, and so it's this opportunity to say, like, okay, how do we take what the LLMs are really good at, but how do we make it deterministic? How do we make it so that it is practical in the real world? How do we make it so that you can actually do real world scenarios with it, with sometimes millions of dollars at stake on some of those decisions, right? And that's a ton of engineering work that we have to do. So yeah, in the beginning, what we're spending a lot of our time on is, bringing determinism to this AI world and applying it to logistics. We're spending a ton of our time on really understanding where the operators spend a lot of their time on, the types of emails, the types of workflows, the types of knowledge that they have to always remember, and saying, can LLM sort of help you there, or the AI assistants, can they help you there, in that regard? And so really truly looking at, I would say, bottoms up, lowest hanging fruits. And there's tons of low hanging fruits in this industry, as you know.
And I'm kind of curious as well. So I remember through AI here, generative AI, and especially in the autonomous vehicle space is one area where they were talking to me and they said, well, AI 1.0 was very manual. We had to be like stop sign or not a stop sign. We had to tell it, hey, this is not a stop sign. And then AI 2.0, you got the generative AI, but sometimes it hallucinates. So you still got to have like Asimov's rules of this, thou shalt be a stop sign. When we're looking at AI and workflow, is that kind of a deterministic thing where you almost have to take a two-part approach to help make sure that it is I guess like a truffle pig, it's focusing in the right direction instead of instances where maybe it's pulling data sets or the prompt is wrong and now it's hallucinating a bill of lading and you're like, oh crap, no, I'm off by like 3 digits.
Yeah, you have to take a two-prong approach. You have to use the LLMs where they're good at, but then you have to complement that with, I would require tons of domain-specific software engineering work to make sure that what LLMs brought to table is actually useful. It's not a part of hallucination. You can use that to then make a decision, an important decision. It's almost important to even understand which decisions are low consequence decisions and which decisions are high consequence, right? And so if it's a high consequence decision, like you need to create models so that you can loop in a human, right? You don't want to be making a decision that could lose like thousands of dollars, or like a very critical shipment gets blocked. In that case, you bring in a human in the loop and saying, hey, this is what I was thinking. This is the reason for it. This is the knowledge I have. What do you think we should do here? Just like, think of it like as a junior level employee that you would hire. They come in, they've got these fundamental skills, right? They can call, they can email, they can log into systems, they can download, upload stuff. You can sort of give them some workflow and you say, hey, by the way, in our company, this is how we collect invoices, or this is a bill of lading and this is what we need to see in a bill of lading. And these are workflows that you can give to an entry level employee, similarly to an AI teammate, let's say built by Augment. And then as these employees sort of spend time, they acquire knowledge, right? They acquire how this company does work, who are my best trucking companies, who are my best shippers, what's my margin profile, what does on-time pickup means, what does on-time delivery means. They start to understand like this word deeply, and the AI employees or teammates are no different. They start to learn and understand that word very deeply. But they're weak on judgment, So these AI employees or teammates they're very strong on knowledge. They can acquire knowledge, they can retain knowledge forever. And they're very good at working hard. Like they can follow a workflow 24/7 and never make a mistake. But they're sort of weak at like making decisions, And so we have this human in the loop model that anytime they have to make good decisions, they sort of pair up with a human, whether on Slack or Teams or even a text message or an email, and saying, this is what I'm looking at. Can you help me make this call? Or, hey, I'm stuck here. What would you do? Can you make a decision for me so then I can go on sort of continuing? So we always see this as like a human in the loop interaction with these, AI teammates.
It's almost like a brand new UX UI, but the AI is saying, well, I can do a check call, for instance. I messaged all these carriers or I pinged this API. All of them but one is late. And I want you to check this out because this one's important. I've seen in the past this customer gets very angry or something like that. So that's an example of like where the AI is doing something good, informative lookup, but at the same time, it's like, I'm going to escalate this up. And that's kind of like the dynamic, right?
It is the dynamic, yeah. Like it does its work. It's like, okay, well, this one I have the information, as you pointedly said, like, hey, maybe this is my enterprise customer. Maybe we sort of messed up one of their last 10 shipments. And now this feels like I'm not getting any ping, no pickups on the calls. I've tried to call the dispatcher and nothing has happened. Let me just escalate it to my boss, the rep, or and see, what they want to do here. And so exactly, it's like they're like no different than um, like an entry level employee who can like work 24/7, who can accumulate knowledge, but they're just not there in terms of confidence or ability to make decisions yet. You know.
It takes a lot of suffering. Having worked those entry level roles, yes, the secret is high blood pressure and stress. Luckily for the AI, it doesn't have the same kind of feeling. I'm curious as well because I wonder, when I hear in the AI space and I'm thinking of it in trucking, a lot of folks are saying, well, I'm collecting all of this data. I'm going to put it in a unified neural net. I'm going to have it all in one space. And then other folks, when I read outside sources, it's like, well, maybe you need your own personal AI based on your specific data. When you're thinking of Augie's the assistant, I really like the name for Augie for Augment. Is that something where you kind of envision it as we're partnering with more customers, we're getting, I guess, this larger data set that's homebrew, like the real liquid gold, so to speak, if we're talking like oil man terms? Or do you think that it needs to be tailored for maybe this one customer is a flatbed broker, but this other customer only cares about refrigerated? I'm just going to have it kind of sit inside and read their emails and read their stuff and have like a little custom agent.
Yeah, I think it's more towards the custom agents for two very important reasons, right? Like our mental model is that they're truly like the AI teammates. And first and foremost, they are the employees of that business. And so what does an employee do? Like, it learns, but it does not um, take the learnings outside for others to learn from it. So, one of the things that we are very particular about is that the customer's data is their data, their business um, you know learnings, the insights are their insights, and the agents or the employees or teammates that are working in that are learning that, but that data is never shared to the broader Augment platform or to the other Augies in the world, right? um, and so it's truly learning from their data, but that data is also never shared to the main platform in any which way so that it can enrich any other customers, if you will. And second is that every company does their work in a certain way, right? It's different. Like the way I collect my proof of delivery documents, the way I do my check-in calls, the way I dispatch my trucks. Um, then they do these things differently for maybe different customers or different trucking companies or different sort of warehousing partners. And so they have these set of customizations that are built in. All that is tied to their company's business strategy. So we respect that. We say like, that's your business strategies. Those are your workflows. Those are your customizations. We're now going to configure Augies to your workflows, your customizations, your business strategies, even your ethos, the way you want to communicate to the world. Some people like it to be very terse. Some people like it to be, a little bit longer. Some people like it to be extremely polite. Some people like it to be direct. So we can customize Augie for your word as if it is your employee. And over time, it's going to build the knowledge base for your company, and it's going to do things better and better for your company.
And I'm looking at an article y'all did, interview with Insider, and one of the things you had in your business collectively managed $20 billion of freight under management. You've had some early customers, including Arrive Logistics, NFI. I used to work at Arrive Logistics, so fun people over there, good
Oh, is
people.
that
But
right? Okay.
yeah, I was in the Chattanooga office, and then before I came here, way back in the day. But one of the things I'm curious is, what were some of the big surprises when you're working with these customers, and it's one thing to pitch it, it's the next thing you're now in the system. Anything like really surprised you, or some interesting things you learned along the way?
Yeah, I think like um, what's interesting is that every business has invested um, differently in sort of core technologies. It wasn't as, but like if you think about this space itself, it has just a variety of different tools, and everybody sort of combined those tools to meet sort of the business process that they want to run, and they're quite different. They're drastically different. And the biggest sort of surprise to me was like how um, first of all how different they are, how well tuned they are to their own business process and like the business metrics at which they run it. And then how are they deeply thinking about AI complementing or supplementing the existing business process, the existing technology investments that these businesses have already made to take advantage of it. So it is truly not a one size fits all, like, hey, this is one sort of bright shiny light, I'm going to drop it and it's going to make everything magical for you. It's not that. It is truly like, okay, this is the way I want to run my business. This has worked for me. These are the tech investments I've done. These are the 10 different systems I use. These are how they're stitched together. Now Augie has to come and adapt to each one of them a little bit differently, on how they want to sort of take advantage of AI.
And with these having these conversations, being able to do these rollouts with customers and working directly with them, as we're looking ahead for folks who are just catching up in the AI space and logistics, are there low hanging fruit and use cases and trends they should pay attention to? As in, like, are some of these jobs going to have helpers faster, or some of these specific roles maybe leaning more towards replacement? Is there any kind of early thing, or any early alpha you can share with us about which way some of these folks are looking at the technology at its current capabilities?
I think where people are leaning in is like, how do I superpower my employee base? Like today they are so bogged down with, and I'm not kidding, like there's hundreds, sometimes thousands of new emails that, an average, um, rep gets. Like you used to be in the industry, so you probably know or empathize with this, which is, um, it is an overwhelming amount of information that they have to deal with and then make decisions of. So just to free them up to all of this, and so they can focus on the important piece, maybe they can build deeper relationship with their customers, serve them better, and as a result, earn more business for their company. Maybe they can come back with doing much more sort of creative solutions like pooling or routing, and that can help them customer get a better experience so they can earn more business of theirs. Or maybe they can spend more time on negotiating or building long-term repeat relationships, which is a win-win on both sides. That's how people are seeing, AI. Like, how do I supercharge my employee base to be like highly differentiated, to deliver an exceptional customer experience, to maybe increase my spread per load or margins. In terms of some of the early use cases that we're seeing where, AI is performing super well is, almost all of the document collection, which is bill of ladings, proof of delivery, invoicing, it's really good at that. It can like look into the documents to make sure that the documents have the right signatures, it's the right document, it's not for another load. Um, and it saves just a ton of back and forth, simple things where you can track and trace, loads, really like understand all the things that are coming from MacroPoint or ELDs or other automation, and see when, those things are not coming or the drive is stuck, then like either picking up the phone or doing a text or even like emailing the dispatcher so that the load's always tracked. And in case there are escalations or issues with that, then, you know, taking the next steps, whether it might be rescheduling an appointment or escalating it to the customer rep, whatever is needed, depending on the situation. You know, um, taking a lot of
Yeah.
early calls, whether it's like carrier verification, validation, even taking the bid calls for a board load posted on a DAT board. Dispatching solutions is a huge one, where, how can AI help like with better dispatching, keeping track of where the drivers are so that we can have a better load to driver matching on it. The AR AP space, which is an eye opener for me, honestly, as I got into this industry, is quite messy. There's the DSOs, or like the time when a shipment is delivered to the time when the invoicing starts for the shipment, sometimes can be as long as like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And AI Augies can help there, right? Like it can really either chase documents, triage any issues with documents, ensure all parties are informed, kickstart these ARAP processes, or in the LTL world, where there's this notorious misclassification problem where the customer who's shipping an LTL doesn't know the classification for the type of goods, or doesn't know the weight fully, so they estimate it, and then by the time it gets to the trucking company, they weigh it again, reclassify it, and now there is accessorials or overages, and all of that needs to get resolved, which takes a ton of human time, and it's tedious work, right? Reaching
Yeah.
out to the customer, reaching out to the trucking company, resolving the classifications, and these AI agents are really good at that. But in all of this, they're sort of doing the tedious so that the employees can focus on what truly matters.
Well, this is really great information as well. I'm super excited. Congratulations as well on the raise, the $25 million raise. Really going to be cool to see what y'all are cooking up. I wish we had half of that when I did logistics, because my blood pressure would be much lower. And if it makes you feel any better, some of our AP stuff was up to like 60 to 120 days
There
because
you
it
go.
was such a
There you go.
manual
Yeah.
process.
I mean, it's a true problem, right? When you look at 60 to 120 days, like the money's stuck, nobody's getting paid. And then the driver's going to, a factory company to then get the money. And now they're racking up bills on that. It's just not good for anybody. Even shippers don't like it, because now they have to go back and fix their books, which are 60 days old or 120 days old. So when we like polled people across the board, like nobody likes it. It just needs to get done, So, but hopefully that would be another metric that we will track on the blood pressure of operators who are using Augie, and then report on that in our next conversation.
Well, perfect. Well, we're looking forward to catching up with you again. If folks want to learn more about Augment, check out what Augie is working on. What's the best way to find out?
Oh, just go to goaugment.com, GOAUGMENT, goaugment.com. We've got a blog. We post a lot of updates. We also have, a Twitter and X now, an X and a LinkedIn page.
Perfect. Well, I really do appreciate your time. We're going to catch up again soon.
Thank you so much.
That's going to be a wrap for this episode. But if you're just joining us, you can also find us on Apple, YouTube, and Spotify. While you're at it, sign up for the Loaded and Rolling newsletter. It goes out Thursdays at 2 p.m. One last thing, we have a freight fraud consortium in Dallas, Texas, May 14th. Sign up for it. You want to check it out. The Freight Fraud Symposium is going to talk about all this fraud stuff. Do not get defrauded. Get educated. And well, that's it for the PSA. I'll see you all soon. Have a great week.